Hello everybody, Dark Skeleton here, and today we have an interesting look at a single card from the Old Gods expansion set, that is Shifter Zerus, a new 1 mana 1/1 legendary. Each turn this is in your hand, transform it into a random minion, which is a pretty interesting effect. What I would think of this card as is the ability to have an answer pop into your hand at a time when you might not need an answer to pop into your hand. So basically, during the course of the game, it's going to cycle through a bunch of minions while it's in your hand, and at some points in time, it's going to be a really good card to play. Sometimes it's going to be a really, really bad card to play. Like, for instance, you put it in your hand on turn 1, it might turn into a 9-mana Onyxia or something like that you can't even play. You keep it in your hand on turn 9, it might just be a 1-mana Abusive Sergeant or something like that. And the fact that it's unstable makes it a little bit less playable. However, what is nice about it is that because of the nature of the card, that it can basically over the course of the game turn into many different types of minions, you can just wait until you get one that's actually good in the matchup you're playing. So for instance, let's say you're going up against a Fatigue Warrior and you just need something that has a lot of power, that takes a lot of cards for him to remove properly, and like for instance, you go for Onyxia, and he's already used both Brawls, or you're sure he doesn't have one. In that case, Shifter Zerus becoming Onyxia is pretty good. Or a better example might even be Archthief Rafaam, a card that needs to be dealt with. It also gets you another card and is really good in those grindy fatigue matchups. In some cases, it wouldn't be very useful, especially in the early game, because basically half the minions are going to be unplayable at that point in time because they're just high mana cost cards. So I think this fits in a lot better to control decks for sure. Any deck that spends a really long time inside the game, so that you can wait until you get the turn where this card does become that good minion, and then play it as the good minion. Also, there's an interesting mechanic with the card that you gotta wonder, how greedy do you want to get with the card? Like, if it gives you a Reno Jackson, do you take the Reno Jackson for the heal, or do you keep it in your hand and wait for something that might be better? And I'm assuming that you have like 25 out of 30 health. Do you just play it as the 5 heal Reno for 4/6, or do you wait until it turns into a 8 or 9 mana Archthief for Rafaam or something like that? So it's very interesting. It's a card where you have to figure out when is the right time to play it, which is generally going to be when it gives you something insane, but you know, it's a card that may turn into something even better later on, and you do have to factor that into your game plan. Now, what kind of deck does it fit into? Aside from just decks that are going to go to fatigue or spend a long time in the game, probably not too much. I think the longer the game goes on, the better Shifter Zerus is. One thing I would say, though, is that because this is a 1-mana 1/1 legendary, it is kind of an indirect nerf to cards like Confessor Palestress, where you heal, or you use your hero power, get the Inspire effect, it summons a random legendary, and then you get a 1/1 off of that, and that's really sad. So this is horrible if it gets Death Lorded out of your own deck, or the equivalent, or it's summoned with a random effect. But it can be good. It can be good. It's just a question of, do you want to put a card into your deck that will be good at some point during the game, but at that point in the game, you might need to make a different play. Like, so what if it's really good and the Onyxia would actually be a good card if your opponent's threatening lethal and you have to play the Light Bomb in your hand? So then, on that turn, you play the Light Bomb and it never turns into something really good, or not as good as that again. And that's a situation you would run into occasionally by playing this. One of those cards that definitely need to be tried out in practice rather than, I think, speculated on as much. It would be a bit more powerful, naturally, if it was any legendary minion rather than literally any minion, because that's just, it's so variable. On the turn, you need it to be something good. It might not be something good, and that's the downside for this card. So, yeah, I think that's about all you can say about it. Unless somebody wants to come up with a Shifter Zerus simulator over the course of 20 turns, how good is the legendary going to be on average? Or not legendary, but the random minion. could be interesting to see that. In any case, I've been Dark Skeleton, so thanks for tuning in this time, and I'll probably see you tomorrow for a new card review. Till then, guys.